look at how Taiwan's dependence on pesticide use severely impacts ecology and all living beings. We meet an award-winning teacher who designed informative lesson plans for schools in Taiwan. Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Margaret Lin. Thank you for joining us. 1 month after Hurricane Harvey devastated parts of the United States, many towns surrounding Houston, including Fulton, are still in chaos. Therefore, Devon Tears came to this area to comfort the affected residents and provide them with financial aid by handing out cash cards.
There's already a long line of people outside Fulton Fire Department under the heat. 1 month after Hurricane Harvey's attack, there are still many people who cannot go home.
I get out of the hospital in September, and I go home and I don't have a home anymore. My sister takes me in to take care of me, and then they bring me back today to meet with y'all to see what this was about, and I'm so grateful. Thank you.
89-year-old Greta Chambers has been living in this town all her life. It is her first time to experience such a severe natural disaster. She said the days she was trapped by the floods were a horrible nightmare to her.
I've never went through anything like this. I'm 89 years old. I've cried more than most people probably.
But today's a good day.
Yes, it is.
Scenes of devastations are still everywhere in the town. Jennifer Tick is glad that she can still live in her house.
To see all the help everybody is doing for this town is amazing. I would have never thought of it. Never. It means a lot for me, but everybody here, it means so much.
Susan is a Vietnamese volunteer, and she too is a hurricane victim. But after the hurricane attack, she has been volunteering every day because she understands how the disaster victims feel.
You look around, people who care for you, and you see strangers. Sometimes your family not there. My kid in college, so things happen, they're not around to help me. You know, just the neighbor around you, the people, or the volunteer around you give you that hug in that moment. So I'm touched.
Listening, showing care, and hugging seems rather trivial, but these are the best support from the volunteers to the affected residents on their road to recovery.
Also, to help those who were affected by Hurricane Harvey, the Devon Tears once again headed to Beaumont to conduct their second relief distribution, as these victims haven't yet received assistance and are unable to repair their homes. The people that Tzu Chi is helping this time are school staff in this area.
I cry for joy for the things you do for us. I appreciate it so much. I lost everything. We had 7 foot of water in our home.
A hurricane changed 71-year-old Patricia's life dramatically.
I'm staying at my daughter's, but it's small. Her house is so small, and so my husband had to go stay somewhere else.
Here's another hurricane victim who also faces the unbearable weight of life.
House is messed up. I got flooded out. We didn't lose any vehicles. I'm just grateful. We're sleeping on the floor, but we're good.
Shavon and her husband live with their 2 grandchildren. In her mind, the cash card means a lot more than the cash card.
It's a blessing to us. I'm a crier. I'm going to tell you I like to cry. It gives us hope in bad times.
About 10% of the more than 2,500 staff members in the school districts of Beaumont were affected by the disaster. Shavon is only one of them.
A lot of our school employees lost their homes, they lost items in their homes, but they're still finding the time and the strength to come back to teach the students. So I think this was great of the organization to come out and assist them in any way that they possibly could to help them get back on their feet.
Many local volunteers also came to help at the distribution.
好开心啊！ I feel very happy since we're able to help them get through this tough time.
He helps his family run a flower shop, and he is usually enthusiastic about charitable events. With Devon Tears' recruitment, he is attending the relief distribution for the first time.
I often helped out at the food bank before. Today is different as I am helping other people.
As the affected residents work to rebuild their homes and lives, the volunteers have delivered love and care. Even though disasters occur frequently, Tzu Ji will always be there to help. The hot and humid weather in Taiwan make this island quite easy for pests, diseases, and bacteria to breed. Despite these challenges, Taiwan has developed world-famous farming techniques, which unfortunately depend on pesticides and fertilizers that compromise food supply and food safety, leading to many ecological problems.
At 5 o'clock in the morning, after the sun has just risen, 80-year-old Grandma Yulian starts her day with her most important work, spraying pesticides.
I spend about between $110 and $150 for these pesticides.
In addition to gloves and masks, there are no special protective measures. She simply braves the spray and continually moves forward.
Raising the crop is very difficult. There are lots of pests, so we have to spray. Even in the afternoon, I have to go and buy some pesticide. If we ask someone to spray for us, it could be around $9 to $6 for the small one.
Farmers really have a difficult life, as in the morning they have to spray this pesticide, and in the afternoon they have to go get some more. In rural areas, there's a shortage of labor, with many relying upon pesticides and fertilizers as the cheapest and most effective way to grow crops. Everyone says that bigger, more beautiful produce will get consumers to pay more.
What type of pesticides we need and what disease we need to fight is important. For example, if you have a headache, you must take medicine. And if your stomach hurts, you also need medicine. This is the only way. The people who sell pesticides teach us which ones we need to treat our crops.
All of the knowledge of pesticides come from sellers of this product, but each farmer has their own recipe passed down through years of experience. However, the gradual salinization of the land and greater resistance to weeds leads to more pesticides being used, leading to higher costs.
For 66 square meters, the cost is about $1,000. This includes pesticides and fertilizers. Will I make that money back at harvest time? Probably, but that depends upon the price of the crops.
In rural areas, everywhere one looks, there are empty pesticide bottles. The scene is quite chaotic and disturbing, but this is part of rural life.
The amount of pesticides used every year is about 9,000 metric tons. According to the Indian Agriculture Institute, this translates into 17 kilograms of pesticides for every hectare of cultivated land, putting us in first place.
With 536 officially registered pesticides, it's not always easy to track their flow and usage.
Some 30% of the pesticides on the market are counterfeit, and such a high amount translates into a few dozen kilograms of terrible pesticides.
Although statistics show that Taiwan's pesticide use is decreasing year by year, we all continue to face terrible environmental risks from their use. National Taiwan Normal University professor Wu Zhongxing has been tracking bats for 20 years, and he found that a cave in New Taipei City's Ruifang area, which was once home to 500,000 bats, now has less than 200,000. He blames imidacloprid neonicotinoid insecticides for the rapid reduction in the number of bats in Taiwan.
Bats are constantly consuming these insecticides. It makes them drunk and unable to catch food or return home, so the gradual effect has been a reduction in their numbers.
A research team analyzed bats collected from all over the world and found that their staple food of insects were laden with pesticides and heavy metals that had been absorbed through the food chain. The research team attached LED lights to these bats to track their flight and found that normal bats flew in a stable manner, but after consuming imidacloprid, their flight pattern was disorderly.
Consuming this imidacloprid affects the flight trajectory, with the hippocampus of the bat affected, or the neocortex, which also affects the memory. These are the two most important areas of the nerve functions, as we see damage in this area, which can lead to death.
Research for the first time confirms that the consumption of imidacloprid, as well as other pesticides, can damage the brain of bats, affecting their vision and sight, eventually making it impossible to venture out. This poison in the environment not only affects bats, but in our next episode, we will also examine the impact on bee populations, as well as more far-reaching impact on our overall environment.
Outstanding information technology training can be conducted even in remote schools in Taiwan. One individual is natural science teacher Yang Yilin, who designed lesson plans that other junior high and elementary schools can use, allowing him to win the National Super Teacher Award.
These children are scanning QR codes to help them solve difficult problems. These students discuss the process and review their actions. This course is taught by Yang Yilin, who devised this lesson plan.
In the process, we try to make it fun and even a type of game. We have given lots of this information to teachers to help them solve some of the problems which they experience in education. After they become familiar with this type of curriculum, they can begin to use it.
Typically, Yang Yilin likes to use apps in this teaching, helping his natural science courses become livelier and more entertaining. He also believes that it makes it easier for his students to understand these subjects.
The school's information science class only uses computers for a few classes, but some schools don't have any. So what can be done for these children? I take what I know about education and tell these companies what I think is helpful in developing educational products.
In the era of 3C and mobile technology, those living in rural areas can be given access to second-hand IT products to enhance their education. This particular teacher, Yang Yilin, is adapting this information into his teaching so that children have the ability to make use of technology to improve their life.
Also, to help students pursue education, Devon Tears recently conducted scholarship distributions in Vietnam and Malaysia. In Vietnam, Devon Tears held a scholarship award ceremony in Bien Duong, where over 1,000 students have received help. Meanwhile, in Johor Bahru branch in Malaysia, distributed the 2017 New Shoes scholarships to help students and their families in the new school year. Devon Tears award New Shoes scholarships to the students one by one, giving them encouragements directly. By attending the ceremony in person, scholarship recipients realize they have received blessings from many people while pursuing education.
After I received the scholarship, I'll study hard.
I think I will buy a new pair of school shoes this semester.
I'll study hard and repay the love that I have received from my parents.
While obtaining sufficient knowledge is quite important, learning good moral characters is also the students' duties. With the guidance of Devon Tears in Johor Bahru, the scholarship recipients have place to practice their filial duties and do good deeds.
Although we are not able to contribute a lot of money, we can do what we can to help. Doing one good deed a day is also great.
After I grow up, I will help those who need help, which is my way to pay love back to society.
In Vietnam, as the new school year has arrived, Devon Tears conduct this year's first scholarship distribution in Bien Duong. On this day, some children bring plastic bottles to practice recycling, while others donate their few coin banks to help those in need.
I also want to donate my coin bank to help other less fortunate classmates. Because it was too late for me to receive the bamboo coin bank last year, I saved money in my own coin bank.
Since 2006, Tzu Ji has been helping children from impoverished families complete their education, as they have held 4 scholarship distributions in Pindong to assist 1,138 students.
I feel grateful for having this fund. Since we work in a brick village, we don't have much income. This fund can help my children continue their education.
This scholarship also helps the children pursue education until they enter a college.
I feel very happy and fortunate receiving this scholarship. I'll study hard and help those who are even poorer than me when I grow up.
Volunteers work together to set up the venue of this scholarship distribution. They also integrate dramas into their activities to promote filial piety and goodness.
What I've learned is to obey the teachings of my parents.
In addition to offering subsidies to the students, the volunteers also give them spiritual support. In Taiwan, Mrs. Hao lives in Kaohsiung Sanmin District, and she has mobility problems. She used to be engaged in recycling work before she had a car accident a month ago. After her accident, she was unable to organize the piles of recyclables which accumulated in front of her house. To help solve this problem, Tzu Ji volunteers mobilized to clean her home. Tzu Ji volunteers work together to sort recyclables. However, the location is not at the recycling station, but in front of the residential house. Volunteers move the classified recyclables to the open space.
I am grateful for your help because I got hurt and I cannot clean my home like this. After I was injured, my mother has been taking care of me, and she even helps me clean the environment.
She had a car accident because she bumped into the safety island, which injured her leg. Because she has accumulated many recyclables and she cannot sell them, we came here mainly to help her sort recyclables.
This homeowner suffers from polio, and she used to be engaged in recycling work. However, after she was injured in a car accident a month ago, she cannot deal with the accumulation in front of her house door alone. Thankfully, the volunteers came to help. Under the heat, the volunteers work wholeheartedly to help sort the recyclables. Their hard work and dedication to solving Mrs. Hao's problems has moved many people. Vietnam accounts for 1/3 of Taiwan's investments in Asian countries. Vietnam's double-digit salary growth led to frequent job hopping or strikes amongst workers, making Taiwanese investments in Vietnam a major challenge. Many companies turn to corporate social responsibility initiatives to help them retain staff.
Over 30 years, more than 5,000 Taiwanese businessmen came to Vietnam to set up factories, creating millions of jobs for local workers. But as the Vietnamese economy took off, a number of labor conflicts began to arise. Especially after conflicts associated with Chinese, many businesses learned that implementing corporate social responsibility requires more attention from Taiwan businessmen.
OEMs or even upstream and midstream suppliers typically have lots of interaction with local people. Growing consumer power is related to this, and if there are any conflicts, then Taiwanese businesses will be the subject of protest and criticism.
After being in Vietnam for 16 years, Taisun has differentiated itself from other OEMs and produces its own brand of diapers. It hasn't always been easy, but company chairman DaAi Headlines has deep feelings about the company's progress.
Learning to coexist with the community was one of the important lessons we learned. We are not just a contributor to the local economy by providing work, but we also need to support the underprivileged. This also shows our employees that we are a good company.
Sending diapers and other daily necessities to those in need, Taisun has been helping a number of nurseries in Ho Chi Minh City. In addition to undertaking charity work, the company has placed more attention to employee benefits. One of the world's top 5 clothing producers, Make A Lot Garments, employs some 6,000 employees in Hai Dong province, with nearly 2/3 being nearby residents.
The government trusts us and wants us to take care of the local people. We also hope that we can retain our staff.
When it's time to get off work, this garment company says staff must complete all of their work half an hour before leaving time.
This is the most basic right of workers. Some work very hard here, and they live far away, maybe more than half an hour away.
In addition to reducing the outflow of rural populations and closing the gap between rich and poor, each October this company helps 100 poor families, giving them refrigerators and other appliances. The company also teaches employees the concept of personal savings.
Em làm ở công ty này, em thấy công ty này có rất nhiều cái tốt cho công nhân. Cái thứ nhất là
During my work with this company, I feel that the company is very good to the staff. Every year they take us on a trip and they help some of our staff's poor families.
Công nhân mà có khuyết tật đấy, công ty đều thu nhận tất và dạy bảo rất chi là tốt, kỹ càng cẩn thận và em rất thích những cái điểm đó của công ty.
Corporate social responsibility puts a lot of emphasis upon sustainable development. Here on the south side of Ho Chi Minh City is Phu Mi Hong, prime real estate which has been carefully planned and developed. Ho Chi Minh City's 7th district has a 600-hectare park, which is about 23 times the size of DaAi Forest Park. It is surrounded not just by new buildings but also shopping centers. Despite the cost of the land in Ho Chi Minh City, more than 40% of this area has been preserved as green space and public space. This urban planning was not done by government officials, but actually from Taiwan entrepreneurs.
Today what we see on Phu Mai Hun is actually my father's goodness. He made this plan and put it into action. Many companies came here because they wanted to obtain benefits, but my father didn't.
Ting's father, Lawrence Ting, is often referred to as the King of Vietnam. When investment was open to foreigners in 1989, the unemployment rate was 20% and the inflation rate was up to 300%. He took the lead in investing in Ho Chi Minh City, where he proposed working with the Vietnamese government to develop the swamp. Few were optimistic.
Even the local residents do not believe us. He said that not even cattle can stand on this land, and you want to build tall buildings.
Lawrence Ting introduced Taiwan's economic experience building the first export processing zone in Vietnam, as well as the construction of private power plants to solve the problem of frequent power outages in Ho Chi Minh City. His proposed city planning included a vision 40 years into the future, leading the Harvard Business Review to dub the area as the best example of an expanding Asian metropolis. The Nguyen Long Bang street connecting the area to Ho Chi Minh City is 120 meters wide, which are the widest in Vietnam.
20 years from now, they will construct the subway system. However, the land for this has already been set aside in this area.
And when the Vietnamese economy took off, the housing market soared. But this area imposed regulations such as only renting units to businesses and introducing affordable small apartments to attract young people. In 2004, Lawrence Ting passed away and the business was turned over to Albert Ting, who was only 30, and his younger brother. They maintained their father's original vision and his experience in Taiwan to lead Vietnam to become a second home for them.
We went to Vietnam not to take anything, but actually to leave something.
From what was once wasteland to now the most prosperous and prestigious property in Vietnam, the impact of these Taiwan businessmen has helped sculpt this beautiful city in Vietnam as an important legacy representing the fruitful cooperation between Taiwan and Vietnam.
2 months after the flooding in Changsha, Devon Tears made a visit to a home for the elderly in Tianxin district. We will leave you with these images. Thank you for joining us. Goodbye.